So welcome back to the channel. So I've gone and done it. I have bought a Moto Guzzi V7 Special. Here she is in all her glory. A few things first of all. This bike was on a pre-registered deal. So with Euro 5 Plus coming in, you can get some great deals on Euro 5 bikes, of which this is one. To put that into perspective, this was 669, I think. That is the same price as a brand new Royal Enfield Interceptor. It's just under £2,000 discount. These were at 8,000. So yeah, good deal I thought. Hence why I went for the purchase. So it's a brilliant bike. First and foremost, I love it. But it's not without its quirks. And I'm going to probably highlight a few things that the reviewers don't tell you. Because this isn't a bike for somebody with OCD, and I'm going to tell you why. So, first of all, it's the handlebars. So, these mirrors, when you first ride the bike, and I'm comparing this because my first ever bike was a T100 Bonneville 2010, so the air-cooled T100s. So it's not the new T100s, water-cooled, I believe they're slightly more powerful, slightly different, but the air-cooled ones. So all my comparisons will be in regards to that, which is the only other modern classic motorcycle that I've owned, ridden. So the handlebars, they could do with being probably an inch higher. They are a little bit low. I'm going to flip the camera around because it's going to make it easier. It's a comfortable bike. It's not that it's uncomfortable. However, the handlebars are, if they could just be raised up an inch a little bit further back. They're very wide handlebars. Comfortable, but probably could just do with a little bit of a raise. So Moto Guzzi, if you're watching, maybe take that into account. The other thing that was very obvious when jumping on this bike is these mirrors feel very, very close to you. And it's hard to put that into perspective. I don't quite know why. It's the shape of the mirror. But especially compared to any other bike I've ridden, these feel very, very close, and they took quite a while to get adjusted into the right position. The other thing that's driving me a bit crazy, and will drive somebody with OCD probably even more crazy, is the angle. You can't really see it on the camera. The angle this comes up at is different to the angle this comes up at. So the degree of lean is different on this one to this one. Now, Italians are not known for build quality. So it's got a few quirks in terms of the build quality, but I mean, all you need to do is adjust that and move it back slightly, and it'll be at the same angle as that. But this one is angled further to you than this one is. I actually prefer the view out of this mirror to this one, so I don't know if I need to angle this one forward or angle this one back. This one feels in the more natural position. It's kind of straight up. This one is almost 20 degrees towards me. A little quirk. Now, it's a very good quality bike, metal tank, sort of Monzo filler cap. However, there are a few cheap feeling bits. Now, the bikes are made in Italy. However, they will buy parts for the bikes from places like China. The switchgear clearly is, I would say, Chinese. It's a little bit cheap feeling. And I know there have been some issues with this switchgear in terms of this starter switch can go a bit bad, but yeah, the switch gear is a bit cheap, bit nasty. But in terms of everything else, the mirrors, chrome quality is nice, the handlebar chrome, the chrome everywhere else is really nice, the clocks are really nice. This is going to be really odd. That little red marker looks and feels a little bit cheap. The actual clock itself is very nice, it lights up very nice. At night it's very clear, good quality clocks. Just that red marker just feels a little bit Casio-like. So, the other things that are a bit quirky is, and I don't know if you can see this, the exhaust. So this may drive somebody a bit nuts. You can kind of see it. So this pipe here sticks out maybe a good centimetre and a half further than this one. I have no idea why. It's just those little quirks you probably get with the Italian build quality. This is also very rough cut. You can tell it's been sort of cut and it's not smooth. This one was probably the end of the pipe, and it's very smooth and rounded off. You can kind of see that. Just a little odd quirk, but the bike's very nice. What else can I say? It's got some cool features. So this hole here, if you can see it, that is actually a vent for the valves, to air cool the valves. It's completely air cooled, which is one of the reasons I wanted this bike. I like the fact that it's purely air cooled, not even oil cooled, just purely air cooled. But those vents are a unique little feature that will help with longevity. And if you think about it, if a classic V twin, at the back, that second cylinder gets very, very hot, that can limit the life of the bike. You don't want your cylinders getting hot, but that vent I think is a pretty cool, unique design feature. The other thing is a bit about Moto Guzzi. They were famed for making single cylinder bikes in the early days, and then they come out with the first V7 on, say, in the 60s, and they mounted a transverse V twin, which is kind of kept, and that is now the Moto Guzzi trademark. There's some other very nice features. I like this logo, that's nice. The tank badges are metal, which is very good, very nice. Nice tank. The build quality is very nice, all enclosed, looks good. These foot pegs, they're of a decent quality. So there are some cheap bits, but there are some very, very nice bits. All the welds are really nice. So yeah, but there are a bit of quirks and oddities. The manufacturing build quality is not like that of, say, a Honda. You certainly wouldn't get different size pipes, one rough, one smooth on the end of a Honda. But it's a Moto Guzzi, it's Italian, live with those quirks. It's part of the charm of the bike. But if you've got OCD, especially with the mirrors, that's kind of bugging me a little bit. This might not be the bike for you. Buy a Honda. So, what can I say about it? A lot of reviewers say that it's vibey, and it is vibey. However, rest assured, the vibes are perfect, and I'm going to tell you why. So, on the revs, up until about up to 4,000 revs, the bike is very vibey. The whole thing shakes. It's brilliant. That's exactly what you want at low speed, bumbling around. But the good thing is, once you get to 4,000 revs, which is sort of the highway or motorway speed, you'll be at that 70 mile an hour, you'll be at 4,000 revs. It is incredibly smooth. When I bought this, I did a 100-mile journey back, literally on motorways, and it is very, very smooth on the motorway. It's no different to my VFR. I'll probably say the VFR can sometimes be a bit more vibey on the motorway than this can, but at 4,000 revs, it is very, very smooth, which is great. That's exactly what you want: low speed, rumbles, vibes, all those feelings. And once you're on the motorway, you don't get that fatigue because it really is smooth. So a lot of people don't say that, they say it's vibey, but the smoothness is a real positive, I think. The other thing is the gearbox. Now, I'm not going to read too much into this because the brand new bike's done less than 200 miles, so the gearbox will loosen up. But one thing I've noticed, there's no clunk into first, which is a bit odd because I'm used to bikes clunking into first. So I think that will loosen up as more miles come, so I won't read too much into that. And also, up into sixth feels a bit, you don't know if you're in sixth until you release the clutch. But I'm sure they will loosen up. It's a brand new bike, so I wouldn't worry too much into that. What else can I say in comparison to the T100? It's incredibly stable. So the T100 I found not stable on the motorway. This is a much better motorway bike than the T100 was. It's more powerful, it's faster, it's a lot faster from what I feel, acceleration wise and top speed. It sits at 70 to 80, no problem. Very, very comfortable, very stable. You don't get blown around, minimal wind buffeting. The T100 that I had, every time I passed a lorry, I felt I was shifting the meter from the wind buffeting from the lorry, and it's very unnerving. You do not get that with this. It was one of my concerns with buying another retro because I really didn't like that, but thankfully, you don't get that with this. It's incredibly stable on the motorway, which is good. That is a real positive. I'm really happy that it's like that because I was a bit unsure, so that is a real positive for me. The other cool thing that I like, I'll flip the camera again, is little things, but this brake lever, I like the fact it looks like a gear lever, and I think it kind of harks back to the old days when the gears would have been on this side. I like that. It's a good feature. Usually you get the flat brake pedal, but I like the fact it looks like a gear lever. I think that's pretty cool. The other thing I think is pretty cool and unique is this yellow thing, and it does wash off, so don't worry, this does wash off. But this, I assume, but correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows, I assume this is part of the quality control that the nuts have been torqued. So they go around the bike, torque it, mark it, just to say that it's all been torqued, ready to go. I think that's cool. I think that's a cool little feature. It will wash off. A bit ugly at the moment in terms of that bright yellow, but I think that's cool. It tells you that somebody's gone around and quality controlled the bike. Tyres are very good, no issue with those. Grippy, never felt unstable. And this back indicator light, look at that. You know, that's a lovely looking indicator light and rear light. LEDs, headlights not LED on the Special. Chrome grab rail, very good, very sturdy, good quality. So all in all, these bikes are very, very good. Very good high quality, chrome on exhaust, but they are quirky. There are some quirks. So if you've got OCD, maybe look at a different bike. But if you want character, and it's, as I say, it's vibey, but on the motorway it's not, pick up a Moto Guzzi. You won't be disappointed. As long as you can live with the slight oddities that comes with it, you definitely won't be disappointed. So yeah, quick review of my new bike on the channel. I think I'm going to have this one for quite a while now. The VFR has been the mainstay. I've been chopping and changing my second bike, but this one is going to stay. We're going to have some real adventures on this. I'd like to ride it down to Lake Como, where they're manufactured, and take that iconic picture by the red doors. I think that would be a great little adventure. At the moment it's still been running, so we're not taking it far at the moment until I do that 900-mile service. Now, I know Mr. Darcy, the old man, he bought one of these. I don't know the facts behind it, but unfortunately he's had some sort of engine failure recently. But he had mapped it and put exhausts on it. I'm a bit unsure whether I'll change the exhausts. I think they're nice. They could be a little bit louder, but I don't know. Maybe in the future I might. I'm not sure. I do quite like loud exhausts, but these are better than I thought they'd be. I thought it'd be ridiculously quiet, but it's not. They're not too bad. Would like a few more pops and bangs in the overrun, but equally as it runs in, exhausts might get a bit better. They tend to, with age, they do sound a bit better, the older bikers. So, but he modified it with an exhaust and a remap. I don't know if it had done its first service, but I would advise anybody not to do anything that's going to affect the engine performance or engine wise until you've done that first service. Because go watch Fault 9, which is another great YouTube channel, and he'll talk about the manufacturing impurities in the oil when bikes are manufactured, and Italians are not the best. So you want that first service, get that old oil out. There's going to be bits and pieces in there from the manufacturing process. It's just life. I think they also use slightly different oil for the running period from the factory. So you want to get that done, get that running done, get the oil out, change all the fluids, and then once you've done that, then you can start, I would advise, then start your modifications. Until you've done, which is 900 miles on this bike, so it's quite a long running period. Until you've done that, I would not change anything. Appearance wise you could, but anything that's going to affect the engine, air filter, maps, exhausts, leave it until you've done the first service, just to be on the safe side. One good thing, when I spoke to the dealer, who was a Moto Guzzi dealer, I said, the warranty, does it matter if it's a Moto Guzzi dealer to keep the 2-year warranty? He said no, as long as it's serviced to the specified schedule, it doesn't have to be a Moto Guzzi dealer, which is good news. So that means I can do the oil change, the gearbox oil, and probably the final drive oil. You don't have to do the final drive oil, but I probably will, which is that shaft drive. I'll do that, and then I'll take it to a good independent mechanic I know to do the valve checks. The valve checks, actually, I watched a video, very easy. But that's, I'm not a mechanic. I'd rather get somebody professional to do the valve checks. Oil changes I can do, no problem. Valve checks, not quite yet. Maybe in the future, but certainly the first one's important. So I'll get a qualified mechanic to do that. So that's good news, because I was a bit worried. Do I have to keep taking it to a Moto Guzzi dealer because it's quite far away? Nearest one's over 100 miles. So no, you don't. You just have to service it into the correct schedule. So that's good. So one other quirk that's worth noting, if you are looking to change your own oil and do those things. So this has actually 3 different oils. So the engine oil is obviously standard engine oil, but then the gearbox runs off a separate oil. That's a separate gearbox oil, which obviously is different to the engine oil. So when you're changing oil, you have to do it twice. You have to do the engine oil and the gearbox oil. And in the gearbox oil, there's a small little filter as well. You can replace them every time. Probably wouldn't replace it every time, but every 3 or 4, replace that gearbox filter. And then you've got the shaft drive oil. Now, I think the shaft drive's no problem on this bike. Sometimes shaft drives can be a bit jerky, but actually this one's really good. Really, really good shaft drive. I mean, Moto Guzzi, most of them, I think all of their bikes are shaft drives, and they've been doing it for a very, very long time. So they've perfected it, and it is a really, really good feeling shaft drive. No jerkiness, no pulls or clunkiness sometimes you get with shaft drive bikes. But yeah, so Moto Guzzi V7 Special. If you want one and you're eyeing up one and you can live with some of the strange quirks you get, buy it. You won't be disappointed. And if you're worried about being on the motorway, is it stable? It's very stable. Don't worry about that. And vibes, are you worried it's going to be too vibey? Well, actually, after 4,000 revs, it's really smooth, so it's not a problem. It's vibey exactly where you want it to be vibey, and not vibey where you don't want it to be vibey, which is at high speed. Long journeys at high speed is very smooth. So, I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you all enjoyed the video, and hopefully it's shone a bit of light on a bike and some things that reviewers won't tell you. Bye for now.